I remember the year that my children's elementary school banned all games of tag after somebody fell and broke their arm. And I know that it's common for preschools and elementary schools to have rules about, only sliding down the slide, or a rule about no spinning on the swings, or a rule about only walking on the play structure, no running, and certainly no jumping off of it. And I completely understand this drive to limit children's activities, anything where they might get hurt. But I question whether all of these limits are actually keeping children safe in the long run. And what are the trade-offs to these limits on children's natural inclinations? Hello, I am Nicole Trevillis-Fravel, and this is Wildwood Teaching. And today I am going to give you 3 reasons why letting children take risks in early childhood really makes them safer in the long run. And then I am going to cover some ways that early childhood educators can provide safety while still letting children have risky outdoor play. And so when I myself taught elementary school in California, we had a rule that children were not allowed to run at recess on the blacktop. And I remember one colleague, a 5th grade teacher, saying flat out, she refused to enforce that rule. And she said, this is recess. The children need to run. I am not going to tell a child not to run at recess. End of story. And climbing trees, clambering over rocks, balancing across a log, spinning on the swings, or in our case, around a tree, rolling down hills. All of these activities help children develop balance, coordination, flexibility, strength. And this physical prowess, actually, this strength and coordination to perform these tasks is what is going to help children remain safe when they're traversing uneven terrain, or when they encounter a new situation that requires a little bit of physical ability in order to be safe with it. Sometimes the more hesitant you are, the less safe an activity becomes. I am a former gymnast, and every gymnast knows that when you are on the balance beam, you do not look down. You look toward the end of the beam because your body is going to go where your brain tells it to. So if you are thinking about, oh my gosh, this is so high, I'm looking down, your body's going to go down. If you are thinking, I can do this, right? I'm headed toward the end, your body is going to go in that direction, provided you have the strength and muscle memory to get it there. All right. Reason number 2, why children should be allowed to take risks in early childhood is the connection between taking risks and emotional well-being. And there is a school in New Zealand that famously eliminated all rules at recess. And after doing that, they reported actual decrease in bullying behaviors and an increase in concentration, right, back in the classroom. And this is because, right? The children were actively engaged in play in something that they found valuable and challenging. We have a crisis right now about adolescent anxiety. Well, one way to decrease anxiety later in life is to allow children to take risks in early childhood, to desensitize them to the fear of the unknown, right? They take chances, they take calculated risks, right? So that they are testing their boundaries and gaining confidence, and also knowing if I mess up, it's not the end of the world, right? Fell off the log, okay, my elbow hurts a little bit, but life is going on and I can get back up and I can try it again, right? This is the ability to overcome. I had a couple of years ago a very hesitant little child who, never wanted to wander off the path in the forest, right? The other kids would be playing in the ferns, climbing the trees, and he was on the path. Well, one day I noticed him at the base of about a 6-foot stump. The stump is taller than I am, but not huge. And he had his foot, and he would put his hand up and slide back down. And he would put his hand up and slide back down. And he looked at me and said, "Help." And I said, "Well, what are you trying to do?" And he said, I want to climb. And I said, "Okay, well, keep trying." Another child ended up seeing him and said, "Here, I'll show you what to do. Just step aside, watch me." And she talked her way through it as she put her foot in a little divot in the trunk. She put her hand in another divot, and she said, "Now you just move one at a time." And she moved her foot while keeping her hand still, found another divot, right? Now she said, "Now I move my hand." And she moved her hand up to another handhold, and she did it one at a time. And then she got off and she said, "Now you try." And so, he focused, right? He stuck his foot in that divot and he stuck his hand up. And, he got up one step, right? And slid back down. And then the next time he got up 2 steps and slid back down. Appealed to me again because I'm standing right there. He appealed to me again and said, "Can you push me up?" And I said, I don't push people up onto high places. Because you can only go up to a high place if you can safely get there and get back down safely. And I said, "But you are doing a good job. I noticed that you are getting higher each time. So, keep at it. Keep trying. I'm right here. Right? I'm right here to keep you safe." And it probably took him another 15 minutes. And he did make it to the top of the stump and he beamed, right? And that moment was a turning point for him. Not only caution in the forest, but caution like in when we were having our group times where he would actually say something, right? And say, "Oh, well, I think this is what I think." So now he had the confidence to take risks, not just in the physical area, but in all areas. Right? Third reason to let children take risks is that it develops critical thinking skills, right? So if children are only experiencing a bubble wrapped environment, or they only know to stop or slow down because some adult is yelling, "Be careful," at them, then they never gain the ability to evaluate situations for themselves. And when the adult isn't there to say stop or to tell them that something isn't safe, what do you think they're going to do? They're going to rush headlong into it because they don't know. They're waiting for somebody to tell them stop. And in fact, for all of these reasons, the mental health benefits, the physical benefits, the transfer of critical thinking skills, the Canadian Pediatric Society is actually now encouraging things like playing at heights, climbing trees, jumping, fast play like rolling down hills, rough and tumble play, open exploration, all of these things for children. But they emphasize that this doesn't mean that the adults just let everything go or that we throw common sense out the window. We're not encouraging children to go play in the street or to ride their bikes without helmets, right? So if your children are outside in a natural area, how do we, educators, mitigate the risk to their outdoor open play and exploration? Well, one, we adults have to know the difference between a risk and a hazard and eliminate the hazards, right? So we need to know if children are climbing trees, we adults need to inspect those trees and either get rid of dead branches, or if we notice a tree has a lot of dead branches, then we border it off with cones. You know what, kids, that isn't a place that we're playing today, right? Number two, we have a one risk equals at least one adult policy. So when that child, for example, was climbing that stump that is above my head, that is 6 feet, I was standing right there, right? I wasn't necessarily doing anything, right? But I was there in case he got stuck, or in case instead of sliding down, he would be letting go and falling down. And all the children know this rule, right? So we have a tree house in our school yard when we're not in the forest. And the children know that if they want to go to the tree house, they need to ask. And if a teacher is free to go to that area, great. If not, if the teachers are all busy with something else, then that area is closed right now. And children can easily respect that rule. Okay, number three, change your language about how you talk about risks with children. Instead of stop, instead of be careful, right? Let children know, right? Oh, I noticed it rained yesterday, so everything's slippery. What is your plan for dealing with the fact that the log is now slippery? And we might talk to the children, right? Maybe yesterday you walked across the log. Maybe today that means you bear crawl across it to have more of a base of support. Or maybe you ask the children, what do you notice today about the forest? Or how are you feeling about being up that high? Is it okay with you? What is your body telling you? So that you get children to start to notice risks and how comfortable they are with particular risks, right? Number four, help children, like I said, assess a situation before diving into it, right? We practice how far away can you wander from a teacher, because getting lost is a risk, right? And it's a good one, right? Children like to have that sense of independence, but we always have to be within seeing and hearing distance of a teacher, and we practice those boundaries in a game at the beginning of the year. We teach children to assess trees before climbing. Do they notice any dead branches? Do they notice any branches that are leaning? Are the branches wider than their forearms so that they can support their weight? We assess the depth and the speed of the creek before walking in, right? We have children complete risk-benefit analyses with us, for example, with stick play. What are the benefits of stick play? Why do we want to do this? What are the possible risks to playing with sticks? And then have the children come up with ideas for how do we mitigate those risks, right? Number five, we let children assess their own comfort level with risk. So no one is ever forced to take a risk. I don't tell the children, you have to walk across the log now, right? The child decides what they are comfortable doing. And by the same token, right, I don't tackle the challenge for them. If you've decided to take a challenge like balancing across the log, I'm going to be there. I might hold you under an armpit. I'm going to spot you. Like I said, former gymnast, I'm going to spot you. I'm not going to drag you across the log with a death grip, keeping your balance for you. I want you to learn balance. I'm not going to place you into a high area that you could not reach on your own, because I want you to develop the grip strength and the shoulder strength to get up there. Right? So I encourage you this very week to get your preschoolers outside and let them have a little bit of freedom, right? Use those risk mitigation factors, right? Know that you and other adults are close by to supervise. Know that you have either already given children or you will give children the tools to assess safety on their own and to identify their own comfort level with risk, and then let them get all the benefits, the emotional and mental health, the physical strength and coordination, the health, the confidence, the persistence, the critical thinking that come along with risk taking. And then I encourage you to join our Wild Wisdom and Wonder community, as this month we are going to be meeting to discuss one possible risk, the weather, right? What are some tips and strategies for getting children outside and managing the weather during the winter months? Now, in our membership community, we alternate months. So one month we have a workshop where I'm just teaching something, right? And then the alternate months, we kind of meet as a collaborative group and we have a topic that we are discussing. So like I said, February's topic is the weather, winter weather. And you get the benefit of my 14 years of experience outside, right? What do I do? But then you also get the benefit of everybody else, right? Don't reinvent the wheel. What are some tips and strategies that we can all give each other for how we can make sure that the learning outside still happens when it's raining, when it's snowing, when we have wind, right? And then plenty of time for people to get their specific questions answered. So join us for the membership community, and then make sure that you also join us here next week for another free edition of Wild with Teaching. I will see you there.